Creator God, may this be a place where everyone can bring their whole selves, where we can touch the deep spirit of creativity and make the mystery come alive. And may we use our creativity to make this world more beautiful, more equitable, more whole, and more holy. Be with us today as we create this sacred space of resonance. May it truly draw us deeper into our hearts and deeper into our connection with you. Bless us here today, and may all the needs of the hearts represented in this room be met, be nurtured. And may this blessing flow out from these beings here to bless all sentient beings. And so it is, and so may it be. Amen. Well, today we're celebrating the Chinese New Year, which begins this evening in China. That's why Donna said Happy New Year's Eve. A common Chinese New Year's greeting in Cantonese is Gong Hai Fat Choi. Have you heard that before? And it means, may you become prosperous. So let's just turn to one another, and you don't have to say it in Chinese. You can say it in English. Let's say, may you become prosperous. May you become prosperous. Happy New Year. It feels good, doesn't it? To say, may you become prosperous. So in the Chinese New Year, families reunite all over China, special foods are eaten, fireworks explode in the night sky, and children receive these red envelopes with lucky money in them. The red envelopes. So the themes of the Chinese New Year are happiness, wealth, and longevity. Well, a New Year is always a time to celebrate new opportunities, letting go of old patterns and trying something new. Traditionally, it's a time to celebrate the birth and the rebirth of human beings and our human potentialities. So here at Unity, because we celebrate lots of traditions from all over the world, we get several chances to benefit from the New Year's boost. Right? So Chinese astrology tells us that there are these animal allies who come along to help us rebirth ourselves. Do you know about the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac? Do you know which one you are? Yes? Well, I'm born the year of the dragon. And this year of 2016, do you know what it is? You saw the announcement. The year of the fire monkey. Yeah. So the fire monkey is coming to help us humans with our healing and change processes in some very specific ways. Here's a poem about the fire monkey. I am a seasoned traveler of the labyrinth of life, the genius of alacrity and the wizard of the impossible. My brilliance is yet unmatched in its originality. My heart is filled with potent magic. It could cast 100 spells. I'm put together for my own highest pleasure. I am fiery passion incarnate. I am the monkey. That's great, huh? I'm going to have the next song sung now, and it's about appreciating the treasure of this day. And the thing I like about Chinese people and Asian religions, Asian spirituality, is that it's open to many gods and goddesses, so to speak, many realities, and many different ways of practicing religion. So in China, for example, there's Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism. And same in Japan, there are many different spiritual belief systems all through history. So they're not monotheistic, and they're not competitive in their religions. So the same about the 12 signs of the zodiac. All of these different animals have different personalities and different qualities they bring. And they're teaching us to treasure all of those qualities. and to treasure the diversity amongst us, in each one of us. So how many here are the year of the monkey? Oh, that's great. Look at all of you. This is your special year. I'm glad you're here. So we're going to be finding out a lot more about what the monkey means and how the monkey year can help us. So this is a song called Treasure This Day. It's about treasure.
Teach us
to treasure. So the day of the monkey, the year of the monkey. This is what the monkey brings to us, and some of the things that we're going to be allied by in the monkey's energy, and some of the things that we need to try to appreciate. The monkey is, of course, an intelligent, witty, and inventive animal. They're problem solvers. They work with their group while simultaneously demonstrating an independence associated with achievers. The nimble monkey is playful and youthful in nature, and is a joy to watch as they move with a fun energy from activity to activity. Have any of you ever been with a little monkey? Have you? Some of you have? Your child? Every day. Us as children, probably that way. But I remember as a kid, we went on a vacation in Florida, and there was a gas station at which a monkey lived in a cage. It was the pet of the owner. And so the monkey would come out and play with people that stopped there. And I'll never forget it, because it was kind of difficult, really, to be with the monkey. The monkey would jump on you. I mean, he would jump all over the place, and it was a little bit scary as a kid. And he would look in your hair and look all over for things. He was very active and very cute, but a little bit nippy, too. So monkeys, they're worshipped to some extent by Buddhists and Hindus, but it's also commonly regarded as an emblem of trickery. So in the traditional Chinese mind, the monkey is hyperactive and strong-willed. He represents the unfettered mind, free of inhibitions from guilt. He relieves himself from the heavy burdens of a touchy conscience. The monkey type won't hesitate to test their own theories and experiment with what we might think is unthinkable. Even though the monkey is impatient and we talk about monkey brain, it can go all over the place. There's a whole lot of ingenious ideas in store in the monkey year. In his domain, anything is possible. What's difficult is he could do it right away. And we think that what's impossible might take a little bit longer, but not to the monkey. The cheeky animal bursts with exuberance, bringing a lightning-fast pace and fantastical motivation. So the monkey increases communication and with humor and wit, helping us through stressful times with ease and grace. So business can flourish in this climate, and risks tend to pan out. The monkey's gift is the ability to find unconventional solutions to old problems. Daring to be different in the year of the monkey can lead to success. That sounds good for us unitics, doesn't it? Because we are those kind of people that dare to be different. So this could be a very successful year for us. The key to success in the monkey year, it's said, is to get more information, more education, to inform ourselves. And that doesn't necessarily mean going to college or graduate school, but just searching on the internet or reading books or finding out more financial information, having access to more ideas so that we can leap out of the boxes. So the year of 2016, the monkey year, is a good year to break free and take calculated risks, because there's nothing more powerful in this year and more rewarding than following your heart's desire. The monkey can be menacing too, as I was mentioning in my childhood experience, because in the sense of the big systems of the world, the monkey year is known to be a time when old empires are overthrown. This could mean toppling of iron-fisted bosses. So just remember, bosses that have been taking advantage of this economic downturn may soon be living to regret it. All things will find their balance in the year of the monkey, because the monkey sends things topsy-turvy. in order to create more balance. Thing is, it's the monkey, so problems and chicanery can abound. Nothing this year should be taken for granted politically, financially, professionally, domestically, or emotionally. It's a particularly auspicious time for new inventions that take sheer guts and bravado. So now is the time for courage, action, anarchy, and true devotion to your wildest schemes. Go ahead into your life with courage, one of the sites said to us. Move forward, make strides, and stretch out for what may be ahead. The year of 2016 is a time when seeds are planted for great successes that lie ahead. Run with it. Embrace the inventive, and no looking back. It's pretty exciting. I've asked Ray to come and read a poem for us that I was given by Jan, who's one of our congregants who's read his own poems, and he's not feeling too well today. I was going to have him read it. So as you're listening to this wonderful poem that Jan wrote, send a prayer of healing to him, his wonderful wife, Prudence. So let's have Ray come and read this poem that's felt very fitting for the year of the monkey. And
what place has greed if abundance is the rule? If pure love is the essence of each and every one, jealousy and lust are outshined in its light. What is envy if no one is above or below? No measure, no scale. If E equals MC squared, and everything and everyone is made of energy with a capital E, when the fount of all power is spewing forth into all that there is, sloth makes no sense, doesn't pass the test. If the horn of plenty is flowing and full, there is no lack. There is more than enough for every me. What possible use for gluttony? If everyone is part and parcel linked, inextricably one, then there is no other to fear, and no need for dread and its terrible spawn. Wrath is its name, war its game. If Prometheus hadn't stolen fire, had he sided with Zeus instead of man, unchained from the rock he would be. If Lucifer hadn't challenged the seraphim for God's perfect love, had he embraced the holy host, he would have never suffered the fall. He would have never gone to war to prove his own worth. Pride would have never been named, or ever even been a word at all.
so that's a pretty tricky poem, isn't it? Tricky in the monkey sense. Deep theological questions. You know, we're in a time when we need new revelations, when we need not to just settle with old interpretations, when we need to open ourselves to thoughts that are beyond what humans have had before. There's a time on planet Earth that we're calling the Great Shift, and we're here. We're the ones that are here. So we are the ones that have got to open our hearts and our minds to something that's different than we've ever thought or been before. The year of the monkey is a year of, they said, new inventions. Where do you think those inventions are going to come from? You, us. In the everydayness of our lives, laying aside pride, getting beyond the ego, getting beyond the ways that we've held back because we've been hurt, right? And stepping forth into more love. That's where the new inventions come from. So this next song celebrates revelations. Revelations. We're opening ourselves to these revelations. People all over this country, all over this world are walking on through now, you know. You can see it on the news, you can hear it in the political debates, you can see people are getting the same message. It's time to walk on through. This week, when I looked up what passages of what scriptures might be being read this week, I need a glass of water. Would somebody bring me a glass of water? I found that many spiritual gatherings are using chapter 13 out of the Tao Te Ching, Chinese New Year. So we look to the Tao Te Ching as a holy scripture. And this is chapter 13. The chapters are short poems, you know. Here's what it says. And I just think of it in terms of the political debates having been this week. Favor and disgrace are both things that startle humans. High rank is, like one's body, a source of great trouble. What's meant by saying favor and disgrace are both things that startle. Favor, when it is bestowed on a subject, serves to startle as much as when it is withdrawn. Therefore, be unattached. Favor, unfavor, be unattached. What is meant by saying that high rank is, like one's body, a source of great trouble? Well, the reason I have great trouble is that I have a body. When I no longer have a body, what trouble will I have? Hence, he who values his body, values her precious incarnation, now, more than dominion over the empire, she can be trusted with the empire. He who loves his one precious body more than the dominion over the empire should be given the custody of the empire. The Tao, the way that we should walk. There's a story of how the way of celebrating the New Year in China came about. And you've heard this legend, but it goes that there was this great beast named Nian. Some think it was a dragon. It had a very big mouth that could swallow a great many people alive. People were very scared of this big monster, this formidable foe. One day, an old man, some say, he was a Taoist monk, came to the people's rescue. He offered to the nation to subdue Nian. So he went to Nian unafraid and he said, I hear say that you are very capable, but can you swallow the other beasts of prey on earth instead of people who are by no means your worthy opponents? Very tricky, huh? So that's what the monster did. Swallowed up many of the other beasts of prey that harassed humans and their domestic animals from time to time instead of the humans. So after that, the monk disappeared, riding the beast Nian into the sky. Then, with that Nian gone and other beasts of prey no longer threatening them, people began to enjoy their peaceful life. Before the monk left, he told people to put up red decorations in their windows and on their doors at each year's end to remember that Nian was scared away and would not come back again if they celebrated in this way with red, because Nian doesn't like red. From then on, the tradition of observing the conquest of Nian was carried on from generation to generation. The term Guo Nian, which means survive the Nian, becomes today celebrate the New Year. So the word Guo in Chinese has both the meaning of Passover, Nian passing over, and also observe. So this custom of putting up red paper and firing red firecrackers was all about scaring away Nian. should it possibly still lurk around. In other words, scaring away our fears of success and happiness. However, people today have long forgotten why they're doing this, except that they feel the color red and they hear the sound of the fireworks, and that adds to their sense of passion and excitement in their hearts. That's what the story says. I think the moral of the story is that we humans need to do annually or often these ritualized expressions, these events, to keep ourselves from getting stuck in our fears, which limit our creativity. Doesn't that make sense? Of the story? So, psychologically speaking about nowadays, studies are shown that even as the IQ scores in this country are going up, creativity scores are plummeting. These drops in creativity occur in children sometime between kindergarten and 6th grade. It's being shown that by middle school, children are overwhelmed by learning complex information and having to meet standard grade requirements. This allows little time for them really to think creatively. This is from parentfurther.com. I got this one. By the time they reach adulthood, they may no longer consider themselves creative, if they can even remember their creativity, and can no longer make it a priority. All too often we learn to consider creativity the purview of just a few select artist types, or writers and musicians, you know, the famous ones, right? Well, when we grow up, how much do we give ourselves permission, or even the time, to tap into the world of our playful imaginations? I think we're lucky that we live here in Ashland, because I think a lot of us do this, you know. But when you think about a whole nation in which our children and then therefore our young adults are having their creativity squelched, our monkey ally this year spends a lot of time in his playful imagination and doing all sorts of antics. There's an author named Alec Fogey who writes about the inventors and tinkers who made America great. He says the way that our country nowadays is driven by greed and conformity is because we've squelched this playful creativity. As corporations became bigger and more efficient, he says that they conspired to control the outlets of innovation. Do you agree with that? Snuffing human creativity and brilliance in the process. Freelance writer Debbie Ellison, who co-founded a website called Soaring Creativity, you can tell I did a lot of research on creativity. She describes the suppression of creativity as social brainwashing. There's enormous cultural pressure to conform and to fit in. Conformity does not cultivate human ingenuity or spiritual growth. Conformity does not cultivate our spiritual growth or ingenuity. The pressure to conform is what gets us caught up in wondering what other people will think about us if we behave differently. She says, if we strive to express ourselves authentically and learn to be ourselves, we may worry about whether we will be accepted or rejected. How will our families and friends react to us when we're not being the same as them? Well, you know, we can think about, oh, that's just them out there, but when I look at myself, I know I've battled inside of myself so much about that throughout my life. All too often we see what happens to those who either refuse or are unable to conform. It can result in being bullied or ostracized. A lot of us here in Ashland call ourselves black sheep. Our creativity, though, can get so repressed when we listen to people tell us, you can't do that. Many dreams and hopes are dashed by others who not only don't encourage our wild imaginings, our inner spirits, but actually shoot down our ideas and ways of being. You know, when I was thinking about, should I tackle this whole big project of the Circle of Trust Healing Center, I stopped telling people after a little while because so many people shot it down and said, oh, you can't do that. That's too much. That's too big. Well, it's happening. We're opening this week. A lot of allies came along too, a lot of great friends and allies came along and really did encourage my creativity. But there is this thing called status quo thinking in our society. It causes us to internalize that attitude that that's the way it's supposed to be because that's the way it's always been. And I just want to say spiritual communities can fall into that too, the status quo thinking. Like I've been in churches, I don't think ours is this way so much, but where the cups have always been stacked that way, and so they must always be stacked that way. Where the piano has always stood in a very particular place and we dare not move it to the other end of the room. That's where it's supposed to be. So whole societies can get stuck in this status quo thinking. It can come to things like marriage, for example. It's only supposed to be between a man and a woman, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. Well, we've experienced our culture getting unstuck from that one in recent times, and the reverberations of that change are shockingly powerful for humanity's creativity, where that change has caused a ripple effect all over the world and is enabling people to crawl out of boxes that are much too small for them. Here at Unity, we're in the growing stages of envisioning our Earth Temple being built. And the team that's coordinating this effort is challenging itself not to get stuck in thinking in ways that it can't happen because it's always been this way or we don't have enough money to do it. You know, we're trying not to get stuck in that. We're trying to open up to this playful, creative task and have it be a real creative, intuitive, imaginative process that's happening amongst us. Who of you wants to play on the building fundraising team? If you've ever gotten your car stuck in the mud, you know that getting unstuck can be a little tricky, or the snow for that matter. I got stuck in the snow earlier this year. Our first instinct is to try harder, to press on the accelerator, which makes matters worse, right? Causing the wheels to spin and the car to sink in deeper and deeper. Well, matters of the heart, mind, spirit are kind of similar. We can actually become the most deeply entrenched when we're trying most desperately to get away from something. Our discomfort can escalate. Things begin to feel more immovable, entrenched, and hopeless. The more we try to get out of a resentment or a disappointment, the repetitive dynamic with a boss or a coworker, our negative habitual interactions with a parent or a child, or outmoded ways of thinking, the more we can seem to get hooked sometimes, and the less and less creative we become. Have you ever noticed that happening? As the spiritual writer Anne Lamott wrote, "Of course, I've always said that every single thing I've tried to let go of has claw marks on it." Most of us can relate to that all too well. Getting ourselves unstuck requires something a little different from brute strength or sheer will and determination. And I think about this for our nation right now. It requires creativity and really good problem-solving skills. Lord knows this is what we all need right now. That's why I welcome the Year of the Monkey. These qualities are some of its personality traits. Interestingly, individuals who are highly creative exhibit the very same set of qualities that it's said that the monkey has. So hear what the monkey's qualities are and see if you can relate. Monkey's high energy and high motivation despite obstacles. She has curiosity and a thirst for knowledge. Childlike playfulness, tinkering with things. Imagination and highly intuitive, good problem-solving skills that require one to be a little tricky and non-linear in their thinking. The monkey is passionate, being really present in its bodily desires, its heart's wishes. It goes after them. It's a risk taker, a nonconformist, and the monkey has a sense of humor. It's a big jokester, trickster. So I noticed something interesting about these traits. Most of the items on the list I would describe as spiritual concepts. Many of them are key aspects of what we call our Unity spiritual practice here. These are qualities that we identify as being part of a rich spiritual life and qualities that contribute to the betterment of our relationships and the well-being of our world. In fact, most cultures recognize a correlation between creativity and spirituality, right? Like Julia Cameron, you know who she was? She wrote The Artist's Way. Have any of you read that book or worked with it? She says creativity is a spiritual force. Creativity is the force that drives the green fuse through the flower, said Dylan Thomas. The force that drives the green fuse through the flower. Isn't that beautiful? This idea of a life force in the flowers in spring is the same urge that drives our own creativity. There's a central will to create that's part of our human heritage and potential, because creation is always an act of faith. We've got to leap out there to create something new, and so faith is a spiritual issue, so creativity is a spiritual issue. As we strive to be our best selves, our spiritual selves, we can't help but be more aware and more provocative, more proactive, more creative. A UU minister I read said, "Divinity comes to me when I'm most creative. Divinity comes to me when I'm most creative, when I'm thinking things and doing things that reach beyond myself. Then I don't know, I'm only hoping and dreaming and wanting revelations to support and nurture me." Well, a creativity researcher in the 60s and 70s from Stanford University was named Bob McKinn. And he liked people to do this exercise. He did it with his students a lot. And so he said, take a piece of paper. And so I've got a piece of paper, a half piece of paper sitting there on all of your chairs. Take a piece of paper. Everybody got one? Pass them all out. And you'll need a pen or pencil. Got one. Does everybody have a pen or pencil to share one with each other? Does everybody have a pen or pencil? You need one? Pen? Universities to do. So exercises, we fear the judgment of our peers so much that we're afraid of showing our crazy creativity to our peers. But I'm so glad you did it. You knew it and you showed it to each other. Because, fear is what keeps us from sharing our innovative ideas with others. But you know what? Kids don't do that. When they've done the exercise with kids, they don't have any embarrassment. They don't mind showing their pictures, and they don't say, "I'm sorry." They might laugh. They don't say, "I'm sorry." And it's been shown that kids in a secure environment feel very free to share their creativity. They're unattached to outcomes. Don't you think that we need to create places for adults to have that same kind of security that kids do, to play freely? Yes. Well, many of the computer industry headquarters are catching on to this. At IDEO, I-D-E-O, a company that spawns startup companies, they've spawned over 150 startups by now. And their branding statement is, "Where all the people I work with are my best friends." That's what I want this to be. Unity, where all the people that I gather with are my best friends. The founder of IDEO decided that he wanted to work with some of his closest friends, so he started out with 20 friends that he invited to come and be creative together, and now he has 550 friends. And they claim that this sense of friendliness and acceptance allows them to take these creative risks as designers of companies. The computer design studios in this modern world are changing their workplaces to be not so stiff and uncomfortable like offices used to be. They're set up to make people feel relaxed. And there are symbols in the workplaces that remind people to be creative. For example, at Pixar, you know what? They work in decorated grass huts and caves. And at the Swiss Office office of Google, they're really trying to prove themselves to Americans to be really cool. So they make everybody that comes in the building either go down a fireman's slide or a fireman's pole. Take your pick. At IDEO, they give all of their employees a toy finger blaster, and I wanted to try to replicate this today, but I couldn't get it together fast enough, but it's a rubber band shooting thing. And so they can shoot rubber bands around the room at each other any time of day. Anytime they're getting a little frustrated or just feel like expressing themselves, they shoot a rubber band and it flies to the other's face. So why are these new corporations doing these crazy things? Because they know that playfulness is so important to creative expression. They use playfulness in a pragmatic way. The manager of IDEO said, "We think it helps us do our jobs better and feel better when we play, and then we come up with better creative solutions." So adult humans tend to want to categorize new things as quickly as possible. When we see something weird, we immediately want to say, "Oh, that's just that," you know. Like if we see a shadow in the tree, we might think, "Oh, that's just a bear." And so when we categorize things, very often we get scared and we shut down and we withdraw ourselves. It's biologically based. We have this deep programming about protecting ourselves. You can see it goes all the way back in that Chinese story of Neon. You know, humans tend to jump to conclusions about things that are scary and think that it's really going to limit our creative imaginations. But kids, you know, God bless them, we don't want them to have to shut down. They're typically much more engaged with open-hearted, open-ended possibilities. They do a lot of exploratory play, and you with young kids know this. The kids, like on Christmas morning or Hanukkah, they open up presents, and they could have a lot more fun with the box than with the Elmo that just says one thing over and over again. Because the box has limitless possibilities. Well, in 1966, this researcher, Bob McKinn, that we just did this exercise, he did this other test. He took a group of factory workers, engineers in Silicon Valley, which wasn't even named Silicon Valley yet then, and he, believe it or not, gave them psychedelics. They were architects, engineers, furniture designers, people like that in this company. He gave them mescaline and had them listen to relaxing music. And while they were doing that, the first test he had them do was to come up with as many creative uses for a paperclip as they could. They were tested for their creativity before taking the hallucinogen and after. And of course, after, there were 1,000 zany things to do with paperclips. Then he asked them to go away and work on real problems in their workplace. And they came up with very interesting solutions. They came back having figured out whole new designs for houses and new lines of furniture, and one even figured out a new model for understanding photons. Maybe this was the experiment that got Silicon Valley off to its first burst of creative expression. I don't know. But really, it's not about the plant medicine. We're talking here about just getting humans out of linear behaviors and stuck mindsets so that we get more available to our creative genius. What is it going to take to loosen you up and get you in touch with more of your creative genius? Did you know that the average Western first grader spends about 50% of his or her time in building up things and tearing them down? Building blocks, building Legos, building all sorts of things, doing it over and over and over again, and then abandoning it. And they don't really care about the outcome. It's just the practice of doing it. This is called thinking with your hands. Thinking with your hands. So I say that we've got to do some thinking with our hands here. My dad was really good at this. We called him a tinkerer. Was your dad or anybody in your family a tinkerer? Tinkering is one of the best ways that they've found to get in touch with creativity, to think and do things that reach beyond ourselves, to get loosened up. My dad used to go out to his wood shop and just be out there for a long time. We said, "Oh, he's out there tinkering." And then he would come in with these beautiful carved mosaic wood pieces, and they weren't really used for anything. They were just beautiful. So the word tinker isn't used a lot today. It's considered a quaint pastime for retirees, people with too much time on their hands. It's fallen out of use. And yet this one author wrote a book called The Tinkerers, the amateurs and inventors who created America. Like, you can think of some of them, like Edison. And he called them an eclectic bunch who hatched extraordinary, life-changing innovations. Ben Franklin, Samuel Morse, Charles Goodyear, the Wright brothers. Well, there are some modern-day tinkerers, too. Maybe you're one of them. Another example is Jeff Bezos, who was the commerce entrepreneur who founded Amazon. Bezos. He's been quoted as saying, "Innovation is always disruption." Innovation is always disruption. Disrupts our regular way of doing things, our entrenched patterns. It's a place where the spirit, the breath of life, that which animates our lives, that green force of life can surge up. The truth is that we all have something of that creative spirit, that tinkerer in us. We may not be exercising it as much as we want to. We may not be giving ourselves enough space to allow the divine to enter our daily lives. We may not be giving ourselves enough credit for having the creative impulses in the first place. Linear thinking can get in our way. You know, we often we think, oh, here's my day, and I've got to go from point A to point B. Got to get this done and do this and this. And we think our day out in a linear way with our minds. We tend to lay that trip on children too. You know, we've got to get to a really good kindergarten, then a really fabulous middle school, then a great college, then a really Ivy League graduate school. That's your linear path to take. But creativity tells us it's not always that way. Maybe it's not at all that way. Just one more little story here about a guy that I knew who was always saying that he wanted to be a fireman. Always. When he was asked, how long have you been a fireman, by one adult, he said, always. And they said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, I decided when I was a kid. But in childhood, everybody said they wanted to be a fireman. But I really, really wanted it, and I stuck to it. My high school teacher told me I was wasting my talent. And he would keep confronting me in the hallway and say, you've got to go to college. You can't be a fireman. You're wasting your talent. But it's what I really wanted, he said. I've been thinking about that teacher lately because 6 months ago I saved his life in a car wreck. I pulled him and his wife out of the wreckage and gave him CPR that brought him back to life. And you know, I think he thinks a little bit better of me being a fireman. So when a kid says they want to be something, they're trying it on, you know, maybe it will stick, but this role-playing thing, role-playing is another thing that could really help us adults in our creativity. We have these cultural scripts that we play with somewhat unconsciously. You can see it in kids play when they play cops and robbers or storekeeper or mother with dollies. Well, we have these huge sets of scripts internalized within us too, and we're really playing scripts all the time. When you're not staying in a certain role of a script that somebody's used to seeing you in, they might say, hey, you're not, being you. Well, think about it. Maybe it's just a role that you're playing, trying to be as authentic as you can, but maybe it's not the only role that you can play. Play is really about anarchy. It's not really about anarchy. I mean, there are rules, but there are also changing of costumes and changing of roles. So we can do that here in our midst. We can do role playing. I do a lot of that in the Journey to Completion classes I teach because shamans and indigenous people have always loved role playing. You know, like in the Southwest, they dress up as a heoka, teasing the leaders into not being too prideful, or the Iroquois boy used to wear these crazy, silly, spoon-faced masks. So, hey, why don't we do that? Why don't we do a little bit more crazy dressing up with each other? We like it when we do it, but it's been a part of ritual all through the years, So in conclusion, this is the year of the monkey, and it brings us this creativity to get unstuck in all sorts of ways. I've just been suggesting a few of them to you. to leap out of our linear approach, to get organic and not get stuck in doing things in a rote, mechanical way, to think out of the boxes that we've got ourselves caught up in, and to start being more incredibly playful, tinkering with things, build them up and take them down, express our passions to one another, preserve and persevere with our heart's desires. So I encourage and invite each of you to give some thought to the ways that you're already creative in your everyday lives. Notice the small and large ways that you are already innovating. It's maybe in the way you dress, or the way you think, or the way that you arrange your furniture, or the imagination that you bring to the workplace, or the way you raise your kids, or the way you solve certain kinds of problems. Recognize your own innovation and creativity, and then see how it connects you to others that are being innovative, or connects you to something beyond yourself. In this year of the fire monkey, let's take some time each day to savor our own imagination and even cultivate it further. Dance more, sing more, write more poetry, play with our kids or our grandkids, or get a puppy or a kitten. Tell stories and jokes more, laugh more, take something apart and make it into something else. Make time to give thanks for our creativity too. Every morning, go on a walk and say thank you. Thank you for this one embodied day that I have to be playful. And every night before you go to bed, say a prayer of gratitude for the innovative ideas that you've been given that day. This is the year of the monkey. You may just end up leaping for joy this year. I conclude with a poem by the great mystic that I've admired for years, William Butler Yeats. He wrote this to his lover. He felt like he couldn't give her what he thought she wanted because he wasn't rich. So he wrote this poem, which has become a gift to all of us. He said, "Had I the heavens embroidered cloths, enwrought with gold and silver light, with blue and dim and dark cloths of light and half-light, I would spread these cloths under your feet. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, therefore, because you tread upon my dreams." On any particular day when your friend spreads his or her dreams under your feet, may you tread softly. May it be so. Amen. Richard's going to play a little music for us now, and I'd like to take you into a very brief meditation to just bring us all home. If you've been feeling a little stuck in any way, or you feel like your muse is on strike, this is a time to meet up with your inner muse and to play with this guided imagery. So take a long, slow, deep breath and just feel yourself settling into this sacred, playful space. Know that your ideas are like flowers. They need some fresh air and sunshine to thrive, so may this meditation be a little sunshine, a little fresh air. When we're stuck in the muck and all of our ideas bore us stiff, we need to engage in a playful meditation like this one. It reconnects us with our childlike wonder hidden deep in our grown-up hearts. It's just a little playing of pretend. Play is so important for us. We're about to go into the forest of the lost. Let's imagine it together. Close our eyes and just relax a little more deeply, breathing. Letting your arms get heavy and your legs feel heavier. Outside distractions move away. And imagine now your favorite toy or doll or stuffed animal from your childhood. Can you picture it? This favorite little animal or toy or dolly that you had as a child is going to be your guide on this journey. Just get a smile on your face thinking about that. When you were younger, toys had a life of their own, didn't they? Then we put them away at night when we went to bed and tucked them in, and they'd sneak out of the toy box and make merry midnight tea parties in our dreams. So right now, with this little guide with you, your going to enter the forest of the lost, because there's a tea party beginning there. And if we hurry, we can make it on time. So follow your guide right now through the trees, through the tea trees. As you walk along the path, you notice something strange over there. You're a little bit afraid, but your stuffed animal or your little toy takes your hand and gives you a little courage. But you notice a strange thing happening. You're starting to shrink. You're growing littler and littler and younger. You're shedding the years, shedding your limitations as easily as a snake sheds her skin. You're returning to your child self as you pass through these trees. And your guide now appears bigger and bigger and stronger. And you know that you're really safe with your guide. The trees are lit by beautiful paper lanterns. Red ones especially, but every color of the rainbow shining in these soft lanterns. A profusion of light fills the forest, so it isn't really dark and scary, it's magical. A moonlit kingdom made for midnight revels like this. The path is an endless hopscotch grid, chalked onto a smooth stone-paved trail. So you're hopping from point to point, and somewhere not far ahead you hear some beautiful music. It's like a little jukebox in the midst of the forest, playing all your favorite songs. You make it over there, and you see all your childhood friends, both real and imaginary. And you hug them and greet them with wide smiles. There they are. They're kids again, too. They're playing midnight baseball, and everyone wants you to be on their team. If you get thirsty, there's a soda fountain with 300 different flavors. Chocolate malt, cherry cola, anything you can imagine. Strawberry milkshakes, why not? Toys and games are scattered around the clearing. Kids are sitting around playing all the games. You can spend as much time in this place as you want. There's no curfew, no bedtime enforced by grouchy parents. Recess isn't interrupted by pesky things like gym class and history tests. Recess goes on forever. And you can come join the party anytime in this magical place. You can eat baklava for breakfast and never worry about gaining weight or calories. There aren't even any dentists here. You'll find everything you've ever lost in this place. Look now, look at that. One of your favorite toys over there. Oh, those earrings that I lost. Oh, that sock. Oh, the precious treasures. Even the homework assignment I lost. Or old friends that I haven't seen for a long time. A stray button, marbles. A kitten that ran away from home. Join the treasure hunt. Following clues from one tree to the next. Moving deeper and deeper into the woods. Soon enough, you leave the other children behind, and you're hot on the trail of your muse. You can hear her laughter or his laughter ringing out through the forest, and you realize that he's in a clearing just ahead. You have to run to catch her. Running harder, you burst through the undergrowth, and you see her disappearing into a little stone cottage with a blue door. Boldly, you cross the clearing and knock 3 times upon the blue door. The door just swings open, and there you are, face to face with your muse. And she's got a pot of tea all there ready waiting for you. She's been expecting you. Her mysterious smile tells you everything you need to know. It was all part of the plan to lure you here and make you go on this chase through the forest of the lost. That's the way it is in life. Really, it's all leading through to home, to this place where your muse is. And she tells you, sometimes you've got to move forward, and sometimes you've got to return to the past. And right now, I'm here to remind you that maybe you were a little wiser as a child. Remember, you've got to find what you've lost and reconnect with your child inside. That's how this is all going to happen. And you say to yourself, how am I supposed to do that? You sound a little like a sullen 14-year-old. And she says, hey, it's already done. You got here, didn't you? Her words ring in your head. You know she speaks the truth. It's already done. She says you can return here anytime, for you contain multitudes. You contain multitudes. this forest, all the lost treasures, all the muses that you've ever needed or wanted. We all live here. She reaches out her hand and places it over your heart. You are never without me, and I am never without you. We need you, you know, to tell our stories and sing our songs. So go out now with the courage of a lion and create. She takes your hand, she leads you back out of the cottage through that blue door and through the forest, back through the forest, bye to all your kid friends, knowing that you can return here anytime. All the way back into this room here at Unity with all your friends here. And when you arrive back in this reality, you open your eyes and you realize that you're better for having gone there. And you're filled with creative energy and maybe even some vivacious giggles as you look around the room and realize, hey, I'm here with my good friends. It really can be like my childhood. We really can create anything. So it's always good to ground a journey like this. So when you go home, it might be a good idea to get out your journal or, however you like to record things, write it down or create a little picture out of it or a poem or a song out of it. And give yourself permission for the rest of this day to goof off. Okay? Maybe go eat some baklava or read a good book in the bathtub. Or sing at the top of your lungs as you walk along and lick you apart. Or go have a tea party. But just know that your muses are with you and that here you know that you've got a lot of good friends. Let's take